introduction is correct. I'm an International Society of Arboriculture certified arborist and have been for a very, very long time. My arborist number is 435, and I think there's 13,000 great certified arborists in New York State. That tells you I'm old and been doing this a long time. It might help you a little bit because I've seen a lot of things, but I'm not also a public speaker, so like most tree guys, we'd probably rather be up a 120-foot tree than be standing in front of you folks. But like my wife said to me earlier, you're going to have to stretch yourself. So I did. So I've been doing that for a long time, too. That's what happens when you marry an Italian, right? I don't think the tree would be happy if I was up it, but we have a lot of great guys that work for us. And I think that's the great thing. We have about 4 to 6 trees, 4 to 8 tree crews every day. Sometimes we have bigger crews, smaller crews. We have a couple plant healthcare crews. What's great about that is that I get to see a lot of things that they bring back, information they bring back, and especially today they'll take pictures and they'll be up in the crown of these large old trees, and they'll give me information. So I see a lot, and that's sort of what it is with tree care. What we see and what we evaluate is it helps us to make good decisions about the long-term health and care of these trees. Because I mean, I love trees. I imagine everybody in this room must be a tree hugger, otherwise they wouldn't be here. So sometimes we have to take them down, but I appreciate you being here. And I think my hat's off to Bedford 2030 and the Power of Trees. What a great name too. It's awesome, you know. And it's I think every community in this county should follow your lead. I really think we have to be more connected to the trees that we have here. I think we're so lucky to have the diversity that we have in this county. It's just amazing what we have. And you know, I'm fortunate myself in that this is where I'm from. I really feel lucky about that. If I was maybe somewhere in the Midwest where we had to deal with cottonwood and elm and a couple of things, I don't think it would be quite as fun. So we have such great trees here. And so let me share a little bit about it with you. I'll try not to drone on too much. If I'm yelling too loud or not loud enough, raise your hand. I got Jay over here. He'll help me out. All right. So I'm going to try to use this. Definitely technically challenged. And then you'd say, well, that's easy to switch these, but you'll see. It could be a problem. So bear with me. You know, I'm a little nervous here. All right, so go ahead. What are we doing here? So you heard all about me. Enough about me. Our overview: tree selection, tree planting, tree assessment, tree maintenance, woodlot management. It's not going to be in that order because I'm a little bit here and there, but the reality is that's kind of what we're looking at. Where this is what trees are. It can't be an arborist unless we start. So where do we start? We start at the beginning. Right seed, right site. Right tree, right site. Okay, right tree, right site. What are we doing that? We're not going to just sit there and just plant a tree. Hey, I want to plant a tree. Call someone up. I want to plant a tree. That's not going to work very well, okay? You have to be involved in the planting process. You got to have people. You got to bounce ideas off. You got to go down to the botanical gardens on a Saturday with your husband. Walk around. You can eat good food afterwards. But you got to do the homework, okay? I have so much empathy for some of the great landscape architects and designers that we work for the people that don't love trees because they're just like plant, okay? If you don't have a vested interest in your own property, then it will not come out the way you want it to. It won't. But the right tree in the right site, and I'm going to try to move through it because I get a little long-winded. Soil compaction. What kind of tree you want to put what where you want to put it, how you want to put it. You want it to be in the right site. You don't want to put a river birch 3 feet from the house. It looks great when it's small. And I was there on one of the properties this week, and now someone's got to take it down because it's a 32-inch river birch, right? And it's crushing the foundation, and it's moving a wall. We don't want that. It's carefully study where you want to put your trees. If you want a shade tree to shade the house in the future, don't put it on the north side of the house. It's not going to help you, okay? That's a big thing. If you want to put a tree that loves an upland site down at the bottom next to a stream where there's water pooling, it's not going to do well. You're going to be back to replace it, right? So all this stuff, the great thing about this, which is there's so much information out there. And just dig. Love this stuff because this is what we do. I love it, okay? I'm fortunate to do what I do, and it's been the right career for me. It started out a little rocky, but it's been good since. 40 years into it, it's been good since. So just take the time to do that and make sure you pick the right tree, right site. I'm going to do this quickly now because I don't. So incorrect, correct. Look, it starts with planting a tree, right? Don't trust your landscapers to plant. It's very easy, okay? before they plant, go to them and say, this is how I want you to plant the tree. Please bid the job, okay? Bid the job. Don't say, okay, well, he knows what he's doing. He's been doing it 40 years. You can't have the cage on the tree. The burlap's going to go to the bottom of the hole minimum. The root ball is going to go in the middle, and we're going to dig a root 2 to 3 times the size, right? Because when the tree goes in the ground, okay, when the tree's in the ground, it's not going to have to grow through what's almost like concrete clay soil they have, sit there and not become part of what is the most important beginning to a tree, right? We live in a town where I tell people from all around, and I say, there's a tree, and it's called the Bedford Oak, okay? Well, that started somewhere, right? And we're lucky. We're going to try to develop trees that could live at that long. If we start them correctly, it gives them a much bigger and much better chance to do that, okay? So it's really important. So I can't stress it enough, and it's not that hard. You don't have to remember all this. Oh, by the way, quickly, and I like to put a well around the tree, and I want to hand water them in. I'm just a big fan of it, okay? We had droughts last year. You never know how much water is getting into the root zone, so I do put a well around it. And the last thing, but I'll move on, but we have a lot of deer here, and I hate to see these young trees damaged. The first year that you put a new tree in, they find it. They have like a sixth sense. They rub in there in September, and you're done. So really, those are a couple things. But other than that, you're going to go back, and you're going to do your research. You're going to talk to your landscaper. It's going to cost you more. Don't expect the right job to not cost you more. But it's the right start. That's what we need. Okay. Early pruning, right? I do this because my wife's Italian. She does use her hands a lot. Early pruning, straight up tree, right? We want a single stem trunk, right? Single stem. We don't want this, okay? We want a single stem trunk, and we want to eliminate the two. There's a dominant leader. We want to eliminate the secondary leader at some point. We don't have to do it in 1 year. We can do it over time, but we don't. We want to have a single stem, and then we want good scaffold branches to come off of it. Okay. And while we're young pruning, we can check the root. We can check the base for girdling roots. We can do all that thing. This can be done over time. Pruning is not an every 5-year thing with young trees. It's every year. We look at it. We evaluate it. I had one of our customers the other day who's been with us for a very long time, and I said, you guys, I want you to do it because they love gardening. They transplanted these 4 oaks and they love them. I'm like, but we're going to eliminate the codominant so these trees can be real future trees. And they're like, no, I don't want it. I said, you're going to do it because they're outside people and they're going to learn. I can do it. My guys ended up doing it because he was a little lazy, nothing personal. Nice guy. It wasn't that much work. But anyway, you got to own your own trees. Have a passion for what's on your property. All right, so that's enough on that one. Plant health care, insects, disease control. We'll go briefly on this. It's a basic. This is about inspection and trying to maximize growing conditions. Okay, insects and disease control is not just insects and disease control. If I find one aphid on a dogwood, or if I find one mite on a boxwood, I'm not going to go treat it. It's going to be insects at damaging levels. There's a lot of biopesticides out there if you're concerned about it. We want to use biopesticides, and we love using them, and there's a lot of good success we've had with them. But if you have a problem, treat. But the first thing before you get into that is you're going to look at the growing conditions, right? What's going on in the soil? Is everything right? Is the plant in the right location? Which we go back to the beginning, right? To avoid those things. It's a big circle here. It's not rocket science, but it's some work. There's some soil testing that needs to happen. If the leaves look off color, if the coloration's not great, or if you have smaller leaves, things like that, So it's monitoring, It's as much as I've been thinking lately about this. Maybe a crazy idea, but do we pull off the gypsy moth egg masses that are on a trunk and pay someone to do that? Maybe that might be a thing to do, right? It's a possibility. It's just because an hour north of here, it looks like the wintertime in early June in the town of Warren last winter. We were up there, and so it may be here, right? And so we monitor. You guys walk your properties every week. If you love trees, walk your properties. Next, structural. Okay, so this is a little bit. Track is misspelled, but track is a word now. It's a little bit of a catchword, and We have people in a couple of arborists that work with us that are certified track people. I'm not, and there's a reason for that. I don't want to get into the long and the short of it, but I'm not. And the reason a little bit is this time, but the other reason is I'm a bit of a tree hugger, and track is in some ways a way to analyze the condition of a tree as it pertains to the risk that's involved within the circumstance. So it's a good thing to be involved in. We do it anyway without being certified. I do it every day. I'll go to my set here. I use this, it's called the rubber mallet. Almost every tree I walk to and you go like this, you can hear it. All of us do it. You guys tell me. Hollow, right? We listen. That's what we do. And that's part of our job. So we do it, and that's what we do. Anyway, so air spade, what a tool. I could go on and on about it. Trees that are saved, hundreds of trees, not hundreds, but I like to embellish. But there's a lot of trees that have been saved by the air spade, right? Because now the contractor who's like doing construction, you're calling your arborist first. Don't call the arborist. And oh, by the way, you're going to set up a meeting with the arborist and the contractor. It's not going to be It's not going to be he said, you said. We're going to be standing in a room, and we're going to decide how we're going to protect that tree. And we're going to make sure that everybody's on the same page, because he's going to have to bid the job differently. Make it fair and make it right. That's how we do it. But the reality is the air spade, you can tunnel underneath and save good supporting roots all through the plant. It's really a really, really important tool. V-shape, U-shape, okay? Look it up. The U-shape's the strongest part of the tree. The V-shape's the weakest. That's what we did when we were with our younger trees, right? We took our younger trees and we got rid of the V-shapes because that's part of that young pruning that we did to develop. Remember I said we did this whole thing, and the straight up thing, we're going to eliminate those guys so we don't have to deal with this down the road. All right, so V-shape, U-shape, unbelievably fibrous and strong. Every year they're binding, right? They're binding, getting stronger. So it's an amazing thing, you know. It really is. The structure of wood is amazing. Okay. Wound wood. The guy on the right. Anybody know who that is? Oh, you would have got a free book. It'll go to the next person. Dr. Alex Shigo. The grandfather of arboriculture, of modern arboriculture. The guy did more work to preserve the future generation of urban trees than any of us will really know. I mean, if he didn't come along, I'm not saying that he did or didn't come along, but Steve Jobs, whatever you want to call him, he's the guy, you know. He did it all, this guy. He found the structures, he developed for coated compartmentalization wood, how trees wall off wounds, injuries, how it all works. You guys can't see if you can come up later. This is one of the different lines of how a tree defends itself from pathogens. This guy did it. We always give him. I can't talk about arboriculture without looking at it, and I'll go to my bag of tricks here. And this was the book, The New Tree Biology, right? So, by the way, if any of you people out there have a kid that doesn't like to sit in the classroom, this is a career that the kid will thrive in, and it's going to only get more and more important. So, don't send them if they want to learn trees. It's not just us. There's a lot of great arborists out there, and that really care about what they do. So, I don't know a better career for those kids. So, we don't have enough of them right now. So, in any of the trades, but our trade. Hey, the good news about our trade, but the good news about when you get to work at 8 o'clock in the morning and you're working on some trades, right? By 10 o'clock, they're wondering what time it is lunch. When I wake up, the guys start to know what lunch is at 1 o'clock because they're so busy doing the things that they love. So. You got to remember, work is at least a minimum of a third of your life. Anyway, so I got to keep moving. All right, I could spend an hour on Kendall Brooklands. That's a property we take care of down in Lower Westchester. If you're going to move to Lower Westchester, look at it. It's a beautiful site. You don't want to live in New York City, right? But you want to live in a nice area. They got community gardens. They got all this stuff. We've been there for 15 years and had a great working relationship with the people that run it, which is one of the reasons I love being there. There's 19 black oaks that line either side of the street. Wow. And this is, if you're going to hire an arborist, this is our job. I kind of wanted to show you what we have to deal with, because we do. There's a lot we have to deal with. There's a lot of decisions, a lot of discussions that have been made. These were planted in the late 1920s when the buildings were built. think there's 16, I think there's 15 originals, all right? We have done so much work on these. Every year I go there and I evaluate them, I look at them, and all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, what do we do this year? Well, I'm not gonna prune them, the budget's not gonna allow us to prune them, so I'm gonna say, we're gonna skip them. I prune them every 15 years in a row, 15 years. Because if you look underneath them, we're working there that week, but all cars, all people walking under them, high use areas, traffic, that's our dilemma, right? It's not just a liability thing. I'm not worried about liability. If I was worried about liability, I wouldn't have hung about 300 swings in the last 30 years. So I'm not worried about it. I'll live with what I have, right? But I've learned, my conscience would tell me do what I can. So I've got over 50 cables in these of different kinds. I've got, this is where high-strength steel cables. I've got 5/16 quarter-inch. We've got Cobra cable, which I really like in a lot of ways. It's not all, we could spend time on that too, but it does allow movement in the tree. Movement in the tree does what? Anybody? Strengthen everything on the tree. There's the roots, the whole structure of the tree. Everything that moves is going to add strength. So when you put a cable in too early, sometimes it's not weak. So, but we've done it all on this property as far as maintaining them and continuing to allow them to flourish. Unfortunately, we had to take them down. When to prune, when to remove. Sadly, we took 2 of them down. And my only hope is that, and we'll go into it a little bit more, I'm going to have to keep moving because I know I'm going to probably be out of time, but my only hope is that when they plant, that I can get them on the page and that we're not going to do the same monoculture down the center, even though it's a great look. And how do we make that all work? But the people there are very receptive. It's a beautiful spot. They live, those trees, I won't be able to figure out how to go back, will I? Let's see, I did it. So those trees, if you look at the root zones, it's amazing where the trees go, right? It's just, they're a marvel. Trees are a marvel. When they say the power of trees, and you see the strength in the wood, and you really stare at this reaction wood, and the things that you see in a tree, it's amazing. These structures, 20,000 pounds coming off of something that's tiny. Woodlot management and diversity, okay? I know this is mostly about established tree care, but for me it's the whole thing, so we got to talk about it. You got to listen to it here. So avoiding monoculture. We're not going to plant the same tree. We're going to look to, if we have an acre lot and we lose a tree, don't put another same tree back in if you got 5 maples there, okay? Because we're going to end up with a big problem. We're going to end up with the problem, which is, let's go. We'll keep moving. Okay, look at them all. Chestnut blight, Dutch elm disease, Asian longhorn beetle, emerald ash borer. All those went within a very short amount of time, and all those were, most of them, except for Asian longhorn, were plant specific, tree specific, right? So that's the biggest thing, right? So we have this, we have the ability to diversify so that if, God forbid, we lose something. I feel so sorry for these people here that had 13 ash trees on their property with nothing else, right? And that, I also, the only thing I'm happy about is these and these we currently have good injections for, so I'm taking care of a 65-inch ash tree through a 2-year injection program. I'm taking care of Dutch elms. I say I don't even do it. I'm not even, my guys, they're the guys. We're doing a 3-year treatment program on Dutch elm disease, right? So that's encouraging. So, and there's also some resistant elms. So don't stay away from planting elms now. The structure is not as good as it seems like, but we can't do it today. Be a steward of your own woodlot, or manage your woodlot. I don't care if you're a quarter acre or 100 acres, right? We can all read it. Be willing to add trees the entire time in the property, okay? Don't be cheap and cheap out to the end, right? You're leaving it for someone else, right? This is your legacy. This is half of you. You've spent 30 years of your life. Don't come to me after 28 years and go, we're moving. Because then we got to lecture you, right? We don't want to lecture you. I know it, and if you can't make financially, we've worked with a lot of people over the years, right? And I'll do whatever I can. I don't want to say but I don't want to be like, we'll help you. We want to give you that opportunity to continue to add trees, right? That's the most important thing. The diversity in age and species. I didn't say, I've got to go back. We can do it again. We did it once. No. Yeah, don't forget that guy. To diversify in age and species is crucial. It's age too, right? So if we start adding, right, we have now, I go to some properties and I look at the guy and we walk in. Now, you get old, you can talk to people any way you want. So I go, listen, I walk on your property and I feel like I'm a nursing home for trees. I've got every single tree is 80 years old, 100 years old, and I love them, and I'm a preservationist. But we better start adding, folks. And oh, by the way, don't get so in your head that, oh, I got a tree here, I'm going to wait till it dies. No, you can put another tree next to it. It doesn't hurt you. The look may change, but as you get used to that look, it's actually a cool look. And I've done it. I've done it before, and it's worked to success. And I've actually put 2 trees in, and one fell once, and the other one was there. But and I didn't put them in. But we that's what we're here for, to help you manage your woodlot. If you want a good arborist, you got to be a good steward. I mean, that's the biggest thing. There are so many good arborists out here, and I have a lot of respect. And especially last year when we got to keep going. Especially last year when we had the beech leaf issue and the nematode was on the forefront of everybody's mind. You know, talking to arborists from Long Island, talking to people all over, that community spirit of just trying to make your trees healthy. I mean, how important is the beech tree? We could add the beech tree. We could add gypsum, all the things that we are responsible for, and as far as the landscape is better by just having more people to look at it. I love the fact that we have 6 arborists on staff, and we just looked at an old property with many old trees, and I'm like, I'm not going myself. Forget it. I don't want to be there. I want other eyes on it. Having those eyes. One guy might see one thing, another guy might see another, and just that, and the same thing within our industry. There's a lot of good arborists out there. So for the best arborists, my favorite people to work for are the people that are involved in their own property. Be responsible to go out there, learn, and then question. Send us stuff. Hey, Bill, what's wrong with this? I don't know. I mean, I don't know everything. Forget it. I mean, I know like this much, there's so much to learn, right? I mean, in 40 years in, I'm going to learn almost every day. So that's the other thing. I got to say one thing. That's one more. We're not going to do one more thing. I'm going to try to stretch this thing. The branch bark ridge. When your homeowners are pruning, right? We prune all the time. And maintenance pruning we didn't get into too much, but it's basically dead, diseased, broken branches. Usually not. You don't have to get too small a tree, but the branch bark ridge, okay, is where the demarcation line in the pruning cuts, right? When you're out there with your hone saw, your dull hands of them, you're going to do. All right, look. The permanent damage can occur if you're going to end up with cutting it beyond. So I tell my favorite line is this. Once again, here we go, challenges. Whatever, I didn't have a slide. What do I have? So look, the branch bark ridge, okay, is here. This is something that was left. This has been left on our wall at our shop forever because we teach young arborists, when in doubt, leave it out. We're going back 2 years from now. The carpenter will say, measure twice, cut once. Arborists will do the same. Sometimes I go, boy, I don't know. I don't see that branch bark ridge. I'm supposed to. I've been doing it for 40 years. All right, leave it out a little bit. We'll go back, and it'll start to form. And the next time we come, we'll make a nice clean cut. And we won't enter into the main part of the tree because you go beyond the branch bark ridge, you will be into the main part of the tree. And if you do that, then you've done a disservice to that tree. Shigo said, improper pruning is far worse than no pruning at all, and I'll second that. And he's the forefather of all compartmentalization, understanding of wood, understanding callus tissue. He did it all. I didn't even get into some of the other things, but let me see. Memorializing our trees. Okay, so on the left, that guy is named Don Osmer. He's built probably 500 bowls for our customers when you lose a tree that you love. And he's a great guy. The guy on the right is the one, and the only reason I say that is perseverance. I've dropped over 50 stump sections on people's property in 40 years, and nobody's ever done anything with it. Every time I come back, it's sitting on anything rotten with mushrooms on it. This guy, he did it. He called me up and said, I did it. What was nice about that is that it's a 105-year-old ash tree. He and his woodworker friend fixed it all up, and they put in the tree itself all the growth rings. His parents, his children, himself. And it's, this is what we are, history. These trees are with us. They're with us before, they're with us after. Some of my favorite properties to work for are cemeteries. That might be weird, but I love to see the way trees, they're overshadowing graves. It's the connection, right? And So if we're going to go forth and we're going to keep working with trees and caring about trees, be a good steward of your own property, all right? That's the main thing. That's all. That's really where it's at. If you guys have questions and you think of them, and you can always email me. That's the office number. They'll call the office and they'll give you my cell, because it's just a waste of time to call the office, because they're going to call me anyway. You can send me a text too. I don't care. If I don't get back to you in a day or two, just text me again. That's what. Oh, by the way, all contractors, text them. Just say call when you can. Don't give them the voicemail and all that nonsense. They don't. And don't. Oh yeah, you young kids in the room. It's not that many. But we don't want to have 7 questions on a text. I'm not going to answer you. I'm going to call you. It's not going to happen. It won't happen. You're not going to get information like that from me. I know you want to communicate. I took my kids. I can hardly talk to them. Oh, you're going to text me back. We know where we're at. But
It's so true.
all right. So I think we're out of time. The last thing I'll say is, you know, what Shigo did, right? So this is a piece of the tree that we took down, but and this is not the best cut I've ever seen in the tree, but you can see the healing over part, right? We had a meeting every morning. We meet, and it could be from between 20 to 35 people in the meeting, and I always run it. And you know, we try. It's teaching. It's mostly safety, because arboriculture is safety first, and all this stuff, which is really important. But I asked the group. I said, who's done more damage to a tree out of this whole group? And they sat there for a while. They couldn't speak, right? And one guy, because he said, you, Rem, the guy in business for 38 years, great partner, great arborist, and Attilio, good friend of mine, 35, 38 years, great arborist, our Connecticut arborist, an awesome guy, both great guys. He goes, you 3 did, and it's the truth, because when we were young, this is how we were taught to flush cut, right? And thanks to that gentleman over, that's why I say the importance. There's trees in this town that are not here because of me, because we didn't have the knowledge or the education. And I think that we will have more education, and it will be, as it becomes more important, and as you folks get these things going, okay, and we start to recognize the more importance of trees, the more and more we're going to learn. Because without this gentleman, Dr. Alex Shigo, we may be still doing flush cuts. We don't know. I mean, we assume someone would have come along in that time, but he spent months and years in the woods just dissecting trees to determine the way trees react to wounding, and that's one of the most important things. So, anyway, thanks for all your time, and I appreciate it. Any questions? You're good. Yes.
We have a lot of oaks popping up on my property, and I'd like to transplant some of them, but the taproot is so deep.
It's a tough.
Can I do it and break off part of the taproot?
No, they're tough. In the woodlot, in the woods, basically surrounded by other trees. I mean, it can be done. The smaller, the better. You know, you go find. Don't wait till they're this big. Try to get them when they're young. That's what I was saying earlier about the person that didn't do the pruning. They did move them from their property, but they were smaller. They were smaller diameter. But yeah, definitely. Hey, listen, it doesn't hurt to try. Yep.
Just a question about the stewardship and monitoring your own yard. I mean, I'm having an arborist come out and do it. That's probably good, but I mean, just generally, if you have a lot of trees on your lot and you have a lot that's just natural, what are things that should be your primary concerns as far as?
Before everybody goes, I have one more thing.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. Go ahead.
Is anybody here? Boy, this guy keeps going, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Is anybody here first time early homeowner? You are? Okay. Anybody else? Within the last 6 months to a year? Just you? Come forward. I thought I was figuring a couple of, what is this? And I'll answer your question in a second.
Yeah.
Here you go. This is one of my favorite books. Here, this is it will be, if you love trees, it will be your yellow page. It's the Durst book, and I love it. He's done multiple editions, and I thought we might have 4 or 5. We could do a little thing, but don't worry about it. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. Glad you. Back to your question. Yeah, walk with an arborist. Could be me, could be anybody else. Build a good relationship, and you'll learn as you go with them. And then you're their eyes, right? You see, oh, this leaf doesn't look good. I mean, don't call them up when you got 1 leaf down. That's not going to help you.
Right.
All right. But monitor, like gypsy moth, right? You have oak trees, the gentleman over here has a lot of oak trees. We have gypsy moth egg casing on the thing, okay? You might be walking through the woods and see a lot of them. If you get in touch with us early enough, right, we can use BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, which is a basically non-toxic way to treat gypsy moth. Oak trees, after last year's drought, if gypsy moth comes, we got a bigger problem. They may not be able to sustain it. Walk the property. If you're interested in it, it's like it's hard not for me to say because I love trees so much, but the answer is be your own steward. Is educating yourself as much as possible, and a lot of the stuff's not that. It seems a little overwhelming, but you wouldn't start reading. It's not. But yeah. But first, walk with an arborist. I'm happy if you don't have one. I'm happy to meet you anytime.
Just text you.
What's that?
Just text you.
Yeah, just text me. Don't text me 7 questions. Because we'll get a call back.
Bill, what about buckthorn?
Well,
What about, can we
as
repeat
far
the
as
question?
what?
Broken
Just,
branches were
Invasive, and should
Well,
we get rid of it, or,
I mean, but here's the thing with invasives. So, all right, yes, we have to get rid of invasives, and we don't want invasives, and we want to eliminate the majority of them. We do, but you can also do it over time, depending on the slope, right? Sometimes the invasives are holding the soil, but yeah, I mean, you'd rather have a native cover, right? In a perfect world. But how do you establish it? It's over time, right? It takes time to get a native plant to establish. Ailanthus, well, some of those are.
I have a very specific question. Somebody, at some point, I had taken home a white pine tree, and it was just little, and then I put it in a bigger pot, and I was gonna put it somewhere, but I didn't know where to put it, and unfortunately, where I put it, the deer ate the top off of it, so now it's not like tree, it's got
Multiple stems.
It's got multiple.
White pine will come back. It'll come back.
So.
How tall is it now?
It's about this tall.
It'll come back.
So should I plant that, in a sunny area or not, it doesn't matter?
White pine?
Yeah.
Yeah, white pine's gonna be in a more sunny location for sure. I mean, they'll survive in the woodlot underneath the shade, but the growth rates, I mean, yeah, I've had white pines I've taken out of the woods that were this big, that were like 15, 20 years old. So you're not gonna get, trees that don't tolerate shade, the parts of the woodlot is you've got the competition, right? It's not just the sunlight, it's more the competition in the root zone. Now, these roots have been there for 60, 80 years. This thing's trying to get out and trying to make it happen. So, yeah, I would make an attempt to move it, yeah.
Okay, well, look, is it okay to have it a little wet over where?
White pine doesn't love wet soil, but yeah, it's not one of your, most of your evergreens don't really love wet soil, but you could elevate plant it a little bit, you could try it. If it's just sitting in the woodlot, yeah. One of the things about having those trees there as a secondary, not that you're gonna leave them all in place, but if you lose a tree, like I've had a situation where some small young ones were left, and then all of a sudden they lost a couple of trees, and now all of a sudden we've got this opening and this tree takes off. So sometimes it's good to leave some of those young ones in place too.
Okay.
Yeah.